The snow was falling so hard that Harrison Zimmerman could barely see the road ahead, and all he could think about was getting home to his 7-year-old daughter, Emma, before she started worrying about him on Christmas Eve. The radio crackled with static as he drove his aging work van through the wealthy neighborhood, a place he rarely found himself these days. The heating and cooling repair business was barely keeping him afloat, and emergency calls on holidays were the only thing preventing him from falling behind on rent again. His phone buzzed in the cup holder, and he glanced down to see another text from Mrs. Patterson, his elderly neighbor who was watching Emma. "She's fine. Take your time, we're making cookies." Harrison smiled despite his exhaustion. Mrs. Patterson was a godsend, never charging him a dime for watching Emma when he had to take late calls. He made a mental note to shovel her driveway in the morning as thanks. The address he was looking for finally appeared through the swirling snow. It was not just a house, but an estate, with iron gates that stood open and a circular driveway leading to a modern mansion that looked like something out of an architecture magazine. Harrison felt a familiar tightness in his chest, the one that always appeared when he was reminded of how different his life could have been if his wife Sarah had not gotten sick, if the medical bills had not consumed their savings, if she had not passed away 3 years ago, leaving him alone with a 4-year-old daughter and a mountain of debt. He shook off the memories and pulled up to the front entrance. This was just another job. He grabbed his toolbox from the back and jogged through the snow to the massive wooden front door, pressing the doorbell. Chimes echoed from inside, and he waited, stamping his boots to shake off the snow. The door opened, and Harrison found himself looking at a woman who took his breath away. She was around his age, maybe 32 or 33, with dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail and striking green eyes that held a mixture of frustration and relief. She wore expensive-looking yoga pants and an oversized sweater that somehow managed to look both casual and elegant at the same time. "Thank God you are here," she said, stepping aside to let him in. "I'm Jasmine Pierce. The heating system went out about 2 hours ago, and it's getting colder by the minute. I have called 3 other companies, and you are the only one who answered." "Harrison Zimmerman," he said, wiping his boots carefully on the mat before entering. The foyer alone was bigger than his entire apartment. "I'm sorry you are having trouble on Christmas Eve. Let me take a look and see what we are dealing with." Jasmine led him through the house, and Harrison could not help but notice how empty it felt despite its grandeur. No Christmas tree, no decorations, no signs of holiday cheer anywhere. Just pristine white walls, modern furniture, and an eerie silence that made the place feel more like a museum than a home. "The control panel is down here," Jasmine said, opening a door that led to a basement that was more finished and luxurious than most people's living rooms. "I moved in about 6 months ago, and this is the first real problem I have had." Harrison set down his toolbox and examined the state-of-the-art heating system. It was top-of-the-line equipment, the kind he rarely got to work on. He pulled out his diagnostic tools and began running tests while Jasmine hovered nearby, hugging herself against the cold. "You can head upstairs where it is warmer," Harrison said without looking up. "This might take me a bit." "I'm fine," Jasmine replied. "Besides, it's not much warmer up there anymore." Harrison worked in silence for several minutes, tracing wires and checking connections. He was acutely aware of Jasmine watching him, and it made him slightly self-conscious. His work clothes were old and worn, his hands rough and scarred from years of manual labor. He probably looked like exactly what he was, a guy barely scraping by, working on Christmas Eve because he needed every dollar he could get. "There's your problem," he finally said, pointing to a burnt-out circuit board. "This component failed. It's a safety cutoff that prevents the system from overheating. When it goes, the whole system shuts down." "Can you fix it tonight?" Jasmine asked, and Harrison heard genuine worry in her voice. "I have got a universal replacement in my van that should work temporarily, but you are going to need the manufacturer's part. That will not be available until after the holiday. How temporary are we talking? It should hold for a few weeks, maybe longer. Depends on how hard the system has to work. Harrison stood up and brushed off his knees. Let me grab the part. I will be right back. He jogged out to his van, the cold wind biting at his face. His phone buzzed again, and he saw a photo from Mrs. Patterson of Emma, covered in flour, grinning at the camera. His heart ached. He should be home with her right now, making Christmas memories, not fixing some billionaire's heating system. But that billionaire was also just a person who needed help, he reminded himself. And the money from this emergency call would buy Emma the bike she wanted, the one he had not been sure he could afford. Harrison grabbed the part and headed back inside. Jasmine was waiting at the door with a mug of something steaming. I made coffee, she said, offering it to him. It's the least I can do since I dragged you out on Christmas Eve. Thank you, Harrison said, surprised by the gesture. He took the mug gratefully, letting the warmth seep into his cold fingers. I will have this fixed in about 20 minutes. They went back down to the basement, and Harrison got to work installing the replacement part. Jasmine sat on the bottom step, sipping her own coffee and watching him work. Do you have family waiting for you? She asked after a while. My daughter Emma, she is 7. Harrison could not keep the smile off his face when he talked about her. My neighbor is watching her. We are supposed to have a Christmas movie marathon tonight. That sounds nice, Jasmine said softly. I'm sorry I'm keeping you from her. It is what it is. She understands. Harrison tightened the last connection and powered up the system. The furnace hummed to life, and warm air began flowing through the vents. There we go. You should start feeling the heat in a few minutes. You are a miracle worker, Jasmine said, standing up with visible relief on her face. What do I owe you? Harrison did a quick mental calculation. Emergency call, Christmas Eve rates, parts, labor. $350 should cover it. Jasmine pulled out her phone and tapped at the screen. What's your payment app? Harrison gave her the information, expecting to see the agreed-upon amount come through. Instead, his phone buzzed with a notification for $2,000. Wait, this is way too much, he said immediately. I can't accept this. Consider it a Christmas bonus, Jasmine said. You came out in a blizzard on Christmas Eve when no one else would. You are keeping me from freezing to death. It is worth it to me. Harrison felt torn. That money would solve so many problems. He could pay rent on time, buy Emma more than just the bike, maybe even take her somewhere special for her birthday next month. But taking charity felt wrong. I appreciate it, but I charged you a fair price for the work, he said, starting to pull out his phone to return the excess money. Please, Jasmine said, and something in her voice made him pause. Let me do this. You have no idea how hard it's been to find someone reliable, someone who knows what they are doing. Every other company I called said they could not come until next week. Do you know what that would have meant? I would have had to leave, find a hotel, and I have been traveling so much for work that the idea of spending Christmas Eve in another hotel room was just. She trailed off, and Harrison saw her eyes getting shiny with unshed tears. He realized then that despite the mansion and the obvious wealth, Jasmine was alone on Christmas Eve, just like he would be if not for Emma. Okay, he said gently. Thank you. This is incredibly generous. Jasmine wiped at her eyes quickly, looking embarrassed. Sorry, it has been a long year. I understand long years, Harrison said. He started packing up his tools, giving her a moment to compose herself. Do you? Jasmine asked. I mean, I'm sure you do. That was a stupid thing to say. Everyone has their struggles. It is okay, Harrison said. For what it is worth, I hope next year is better for you. You too, Jasmine said. She walked him to the door, and Harrison could feel the warmth from the heating system already spreading through the house. Drive safe. The roads look terrible. Will do. Merry Christmas, Miss Pierce. Jasmine, she corrected. And Merry Christmas, Harrison. Harrison drove home through the snow, his mind swirling with thoughts of the lonely woman in the big empty house. When he got back to his apartment complex, he picked up Emma from Mrs. Patterson's place and hugged her tight. "Daddy." "You are squishing me," Emma giggled. "Sorry, baby, I just missed you." Harrison kissed the top of her head, breathing in the scent of cookies and strawberry shampoo. "Did you fix the heater?" Emma asked as they walked back to their apartment. "I did, and you know what? The lady gave me a big tip, which means Santa might bring you something extra special this year." Emma's eyes went wide. "Really? Do you think he will bring the bike?" "I think there is a pretty good chance," Harrison said, unlocking their apartment door and feeling grateful, despite everything, for what he had. They spent the evening watching Christmas movies and eating popcorn on their second-hand couch. Emma fell asleep halfway through the third movie, and Harrison carried her to her room, tucking her in carefully. He stood in her doorway for a long moment, watching her sleep, and thought about Jasmine in that big empty house. He wondered if anyone had tucked her in when she was little, if she had family somewhere, why she was spending Christmas alone. Then he shook his head at his own thoughts. It was none of his business. She was a client, nothing more. But as he lay in bed that night, he could not get her face out of his mind. Those sad green eyes, the way she had tried to hide her tears, the loneliness that seemed to emanate from every corner of that beautiful, empty house. The day after Christmas, Harrison was helping Emma put together the bike he had managed to snag from a late-night department store run while Mrs. Patterson watched her sleep. She was riding it in circles around the apartment complex parking lot when his phone rang with an unfamiliar number. "Zimmerman Heating and Cooling," he answered, as professionally as he could while watching Emma nearly run into a snowman some kids had built. "Harrison, this is Jasmine Pierce. I hope I am not bothering you." His heart did an unexpected little jump at hearing her voice. No bother at all. "Is something wrong with the heating system?" "No, it is working perfectly. Actually, I was calling because I have a business proposition for you." She paused. "Would you be willing to meet me for coffee? I promise it will be worth your time." Harrison hesitated. His instincts told him this was more than just a simple business meeting, but he could not quite put his finger on why that made him nervous. "Sure, when were you thinking? How about tomorrow morning, say 10 o'clock at the Riverside Cafe downtown?" "I will be there," Harrison said. That night, after Emma went to bed, Harrison found himself doing something he had not done in years. He stood in front of his closet trying to decide what to wear, like he was going on a date instead of a business meeting. He finally settled on his newest pair of jeans and a button-down shirt that Emma had given him for Father's Day, saying it made him look fancy. The next morning, after dropping Emma off at her best friend Sophie's house for a playdate, Harrison headed downtown. The Riverside Cafe was one of those trendy places with exposed brick walls and baristas who took their coffee very seriously. He felt out of place the moment he walked in, but then he saw Jasmine sitting at a corner table, and she smiled at him in a way that made his nervousness fade a bit. "Thank you for coming," she said as he sat down. She looked different than she had on Christmas Eve, more put together in dark jeans and a cream-colored sweater, her hair down around her shoulders. "Can I buy you a coffee?" "Just a regular coffee, black," Harrison said when the waitress came over. Jasmine ordered some complicated latte with extra shots and alternative milk, and Harrison tried not to smile at the contrast. "So, what's this business proposition?" he asked once their drinks arrived. Jasmine wrapped her hands around her mug, and Harrison noticed she seemed nervous. "Okay, so here is the situation. I run my family's company, Pierce Industries. We do commercial real estate development. My father built it from the ground up, and when he passed away 2 years ago, I took over." Harrison nodded, listening carefully. "We own about 40 properties in this city alone. Office buildings, apartment complexes, shopping centers, and every single one of them has heating, cooling, and ventilation systems that need regular maintenance and occasional repairs." Jasmine leaned forward slightly. "I have been using a large commercial company for this work, and frankly, they are terrible. They overcharge, they do sloppy work, and they take forever to respond to emergencies. I'm sorry to hear that, Harrison said, though he was not entirely sure where this was going. The thing is, when you came to my house on Christmas Eve, I watched you work. You were thorough, you knew what you were doing, and you explained everything clearly. You were professional and kind, and you showed up when no one else would. Jasmine's eyes met his. I want to hire you to take over all the HVAC maintenance and repair for Pierce Industries properties. Harrison nearly choked on his coffee. What? That would be a massive contract. I'm a one-man operation. I do not have the staff or the resources for something like that. I know, Jasmine said calmly. That is part of the proposition. I would provide the initial capital to expand your business. You would hire staff, buy equipment, get a proper office and warehouse space. Pierce Industries would be your primary client, guaranteed work. Once you are established, you would own the company outright, and you could take on other clients as well. Harrison sat back in his chair, his mind reeling. Why would you do this? You do not even know me. I'm a good judge of character, Jasmine said. And I'm tired of dealing with companies that see me as just another deep pocket to drain. I want someone reliable, someone who actually cares about doing good work. She paused. Plus, I checked your references. You have an almost perfect rating from your customers. People say you are honest, hardworking, and fair. You investigated me. Harrison did not know whether to be flattered or concerned. Due diligence, Jasmine said with a slight smile. I did not dig into your personal life, just your professional reputation, and it's impeccable. Harrison ran a hand through his hair, trying to process what was happening. This was the kind of opportunity people dreamed about, the kind that could change his entire life. But it also seemed too good to be true. I need to think about it, he said finally. This is a huge decision. I have got my daughter to think about, and I cannot afford to make a mistake that would put us in a worse position than we already are. Of course, Jasmine said quickly. Take all the time you need, though I should mention I would need an answer by next week. I am firing the current company on January 1st, and I need to have a replacement lined up. They talked for another hour, with Jasmine laying out more details of what the arrangement would look like. The more Harrison heard, the more legitimate it sounded, but also the more terrifying. This would mean leaving behind the small, safe business he had built and taking a huge leap into the unknown. When they finally parted ways, Jasmine handed him a folder full of information. Everything is in there. Financial projections, the proposed contract, a list of properties. Look it over and call me if you have any questions. Harrison spent the next 3 days going over every detail. He called his accountant, a college friend who did his taxes, to look at the numbers. He lay awake at night running scenarios in his head. He made pro and con lists. And through it all, he kept thinking about Jasmine, about how she had looked sitting across from him in that cafe, professional yet somehow vulnerable at the same time. On New Year's Eve, while Emma was at another playdate, Harrison called Jasmine. His hands were shaking when she answered. I will do it, he said, but I have some conditions. I am listening, Jasmine replied, and he could hear the smile in her voice. I want everything in writing, reviewed by a lawyer. I want a clear exit clause in case this does not work out. And I want regular meetings to discuss any issues or concerns. I am not interested in being a silent contractor. If I am going to do this, I need to be treated as a partner, not just a vendor. Those all sound perfectly reasonable, Jasmine said. I would not have it any other way. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? We will get the paperwork started. The next day, January 1st, Harrison walked into the gleaming high-rise building that housed Pierce Industries headquarters. The lobby alone was intimidating, all marble and glass with a waterfall feature and modern art on the walls. He took the elevator to the top floor, where Jasmine's office was located. Her assistant, a friendly woman named Margaret who looked to be in her 50s, greeted him warmly. Mr. Zimmerman, we have been expecting you. Miss Pierce is just finishing up a call. Can I get you some coffee or water? Water would be great, thank you, Harrison said, taking a seat in the waiting area and trying not to feel completely out of his depth. Margaret returned with water in a glass bottle that probably cost more than Harrison's lunch, and then Jasmine's office door opened. "Harrison, come on in," Jasmine said, and the genuine warmth in her greeting helped ease some of his nerves. Her office was spacious with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a stunning view of the city. But what struck Harrison most was that, unlike her house, this space had personality. There were photos on her desk, plants on the shelves, and children's drawings pinned to a bulletin board. Jasmine noticed him looking at the drawings. "My niece and nephew," she explained. "They are 5 and 8. I'm not around as much as I would like to be, but they send me artwork regularly." "That is sweet," Harrison said, thinking of all the drawings Emma made that covered their refrigerator. They spent the next several hours going over contracts with Jasmine's lawyer present. Harrison had called his own lawyer friend, who joined them via video call and went through everything with a fine-tooth comb. By the time they were finished, Harrison's head was spinning with details, but everything checked out. The contract was fair, even generous. Jasmine was offering him an opportunity to build something real, something that could provide security for Emma's future. He signed his name on the dotted line, and suddenly, everything changed. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Jasmine connected Harrison with a commercial real estate agent who helped him find a perfect warehouse space with offices attached. She introduced him to an equipment supplier who gave him wholesale pricing. She even connected him with a recruiting agency to help him hire qualified technicians. Through it all, Harrison found himself spending a lot of time with Jasmine. They met several times a week to discuss progress, and what started as strictly business meetings gradually became something more. They would finish talking about contracts and budgets, and then somehow end up talking about their lives, their struggles, their dreams. Harrison learned that Jasmine had spent most of her 20s working in her father's shadow, learning the business from the ground up. When her father got sick, she had put her own life on hold to care for him and keep the company running. After he died, she had thrown herself completely into work, barely taking time to grieve or live. "I wake up every day in that big empty house, and I go to the office, and I work 12-hour days, and then I go home and do it all over again." She told him one evening when they had stayed late at his new office, going over the final details before his first official day serving Pierce Industries properties. "Sometimes weeks go by where I do not have a real conversation with anyone, just business calls and video conferences." "That sounds lonely," Harrison said quietly. "It is," Jasmine admitted. She was sitting on the floor of his new office, her expensive shoes kicked off, looking more relaxed than he had ever seen her. "What about you? Do you get lonely?" Harrison considered the question carefully. "Sometimes. Emma keeps me pretty busy, and she is great company. But yeah, there are nights after she goes to bed when the apartment feels too quiet. I miss having another adult to talk to share things with." "Do you miss your wife?" Jasmine asked gently. It was the first time anyone had asked him that question so directly, and Harrison found he did not mind answering. "I miss who we were together before she got sick. The last 2 years of her life were so hard. She was in so much pain, and I felt helpless. By the end, I think we were both ready for it to be over, which is an awful thing to admit." He swallowed hard. "I miss the idea of having a partner, someone who is on your team no matter what. But the day-to-day specifics have faded, you know? I feel guilty about that sometimes." "I do not think you should feel guilty," Jasmine said. "I think it is natural. We are built to keep living, to keep moving forward." Their eyes met, and Harrison felt something shift between them. It was not just friendship or a business relationship anymore. There was an attraction there, a connection that went deeper than he had felt in years. "I should get home," he said, standing up quickly. "Emma will be wondering where I am." Jasmine stood too, and for a moment they were very close together in the small office space. "Right, of course." "I will see you next week." "Yeah, next week," Harrison said, and he left before he could do something stupid like kiss her. As he drove home, Harrison's mind was racing. He was attracted to Jasmine, there was no point in denying it, but the situation was complicated. She was essentially his boss now, or at least his biggest client. There was a power imbalance that made any romantic relationship potentially problematic. Plus, Emma had to be his first priority. He could not just start dating someone without thinking about how it would affect his daughter. But despite all his logical reasons why he should not pursue anything with Jasmine, Harrison could not stop thinking about her. The way she laughed at his jokes. The way she listened when he talked about Emma, asking questions and remembering details. The way she looked at him sometimes, like he was more than just a contractor or a business associate. 2 weeks later, Harrison's expanded company was fully operational. He had hired 3 excellent technicians, bought 2 more vans, and was handling his first maintenance calls for Pierce Industries properties. Everything was going smoothly, almost too smoothly. He was at one of Jasmine's office buildings checking the rooftop HVAC units when she showed up unexpectedly. "Hey," she said, a little breathless from the stairs. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I would see how things were going." Harrison straightened up from the unit he was inspecting, very aware that he was sweaty and probably covered in dust. "Everything's good. This building's systems are in great shape. Whoever maintained them before did a decent job for once." "That is good to hear," Jasmine said, but she did not seem like she was really thinking about HVAC systems. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her phone. "Is everything okay?" Harrison asked. "Yes, no, maybe." Jasmine laughed, a slightly shaky sound. "I have been trying to figure out how to ask you something, and I keep chickening out." Harrison's heart started beating faster. "Just ask. Whatever it is, we can figure it out." "Would you like to have dinner with me?" Jasmine asked in a rush. "Like not a business dinner, a real dinner. A date." Harrison's first instinct was to say yes immediately. His second instinct was to list all the reasons why it was complicated. What came out was, "I would love to, but I need to be upfront about some things." "Okay," Jasmine said, looking both hopeful and terrified. "Emma has to come first," Harrison said. "Always, and I cannot do casual. If we are going to do this, I need to know you are serious because eventually you are going to meet her, and I cannot bring someone into her life who is not going to stick around." "I understand," Jasmine said softly. "I'm not looking for casual either. I'm 32 years old and I have spent the last 5 years married to my work. I'm ready for something real, something that matters. I like you, Harrison. I like how dedicated you are to your daughter. I like how you treat people. I like that you are not intimidated by my money or my position. I like you." Harrison felt a smile spreading across his face. "I like you too, a lot. So yes, I would love to have dinner with you." They went to dinner the following Saturday night. Harrison hired a proper babysitter, a college student Margaret had recommended, since Mrs. Patterson had plans with her own family. He wore the same button-down shirt Emma had given him and spent way too much time trying to get his hair to cooperate. When he picked up Jasmine from her house, she answered the door in a simple black dress that made Harrison forget how to form complete sentences for a moment. "You look beautiful," he managed. "Thank you," Jasmine said, blushing slightly. "You look pretty great yourself." They went to a small Italian restaurant that one of Harrison's customers had recommended. It was not fancy or pretentious, just good food and a warm atmosphere. They talked and laughed through multiple courses, and Harrison could not remember the last time he had enjoyed himself so much. "Tell me about Emma," Jasmine said over dessert. "What is she like?" Harrison's whole face lit up. "She is incredible. Smart, funny, kind. She loves art and animals and anything to do with science. She wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up, or maybe a marine biologist. It changes weekly." He pulled out his phone and showed Jasmine some photos. "This is from her school art show last month. That is from her birthday party. And this one is my favorite. She was helping me fix a leaky faucet and insisted on wearing my tool belt, which was way too big for her." Jasmine looked through the photos with a genuine smile. She is beautiful, she has your eyes. She has her mother's smile, Harrison said, and her mother's determination. When Emma sets her mind to something, there is no stopping her. I would love to meet her, Jasmine said carefully. When you think the time is right. Soon, Harrison promised. I want her to get used to the idea first. Maybe we could do something casual, like getting ice cream. They planned it for 2 weeks later, giving Harrison time to prepare Emma. He sat her down one evening after dinner and tried to explain in 7-year-old terms that he had met someone he liked and wanted her to meet too. Is she your girlfriend? Emma asked, direct as always. Sort of, Harrison said. We are dating, seeing if we like spending time together. Do you like her? I do. A lot. Emma studied him with serious eyes. Does she like me? Harrison pulled his daughter into a hug. She does not know you yet, but she is going to love you. How could she not? Because sometimes people do not like kids, Emma said matter-of-factly. Sophie's mom has a boyfriend, and he never wants Sophie around. She has to go to her grandma's house when he visits. Harrison's heart broke a little. That is not going to happen with us, I promise. Jasmine knows how important you are to me. She wants to meet you because she knows you are the most important person in my life. Okay, Emma said, seeming satisfied. Can we get chocolate ice cream when we meet her? The ice cream date was adorable and slightly terrifying. Harrison watched anxiously as Jasmine and Emma sized each other up over sundaes at Emma's favorite ice cream parlor. Jasmine had dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, no makeup, clearly trying not to be intimidating. Emma was polite but reserved, answering Jasmine's questions but not offering much in return. Then Jasmine noticed the small sketchpad Emma had brought. Are you an artist? Jasmine asked. Kind of, Emma said. I like to draw. Can I see? Emma hesitated, then opened her sketchpad. Harrison's heart melted as Jasmine looked through the drawings with genuine interest, asking questions about each one and complimenting specific details. This cat is really good, Jasmine said, pointing to a drawing of what was clearly meant to be a lion. I love how you did the mane. It is actually a lion, Emma corrected, but she was smiling now. His name is Larry, Larry the lion. That is an excellent name. By the end of the afternoon, Emma was chattering away about her favorite animals and telling Jasmine about the science project she was working on for school. When they dropped Jasmine off at her car, Emma gave her a shy wave. She seems nice, Emma said as they drove home, and she did not treat me like a baby. That is high praise, Harrison said, grinning. Can we see her again? Definitely. Over the next few months, Harrison and Jasmine fell into a comfortable pattern. They went on dates when Emma was with friends or Mrs. Patterson. Sometimes, Jasmine would come over for dinner, and she would help Emma with homework while Harrison cooked. Other times, they would all go do something together, simple things like visiting the zoo or going to the park. Harrison watched as Jasmine and Emma's relationship grew. Jasmine was naturally good with kids, patient and attentive without being overbearing. She remembered things Emma told her and followed up on them later. When Emma's class goldfish died, Jasmine was the one who suggested they hold a proper funeral in Harrison's small apartment balcony garden, complete with a eulogy, Emma wrote herself. You are really good with her, Harrison told Jasmine one night after Emma had gone to bed. They were sitting on his couch, Jasmine curled up against his side in a way that felt natural and right. She is an easy kid to be good with, Jasmine said. She is smart and sweet, and she has got your sense of humor. She likes you a lot, Harrison said. She asked me last week if you were going to be her new mom. Jasmine sat up, her eyes wide. What did you tell her? I told her that adults do not rush into things like that, but that I cared about you very much and hoped you would be in our lives for a long time. Harrison took Jasmine's hand. Was that okay? That was perfect, Jasmine said softly, because I do want to be in your lives for a long time. Both of you. They had not said the words yet, had not defined exactly what they were to each other beyond dating. But in that moment, Harrison felt the truth of it settling into his bones. He was falling in love with this woman, this brilliant, kind, lonely billionaire who had taken a chance on him and changed his life. "I love you," he said, the words coming out before he could second-guess them. Jasmine's face transformed with joy. "I love you too." "I have been wanting to say it for weeks, but was afraid it was too soon." "It is not too soon," Harrison said, and then he kissed her properly, deep and slow, pouring all his feelings into it. Things were not perfect, of course. Harrison's business had growing pains, with scheduling conflicts and the occasional difficult client. Jasmine still worked too many hours, and sometimes she would disappear into work mode for days at a time. There were moments when Harrison worried about the differences between them. The fact that she lived in a mansion and he lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, that she ran a multi-million-dollar company while he was still getting used to managing employees. But Jasmine never made him feel less than. If anything, she seemed to admire his work ethic and his dedication to building something from the ground up. And when he brought up his concerns one night, she looked at him like he was crazy. "Do you think I care about any of that?" she asked. "Harrison, you are the most genuine person I have met in years. You are honest and hardworking, and you are an amazing father. That is what matters to me, not where you live or how much money you make." "But it has to be strange for you," Harrison insisted, "going from your world to mine." "My world was empty," Jasmine said firmly. "Your world has love and laughter and a 7-year-old who tells the most elaborate bedtime stories I have ever heard. I will take your world any day." 6 months after their first date, Jasmine did something that shocked everyone, including herself. She showed up at Harrison's apartment on a random Tuesday evening with suitcases. "I cannot stay in that house anymore," she announced when Harrison opened the door, confusion written all over his face. "It is too big and too empty, and I hate going home to it." "I know this is sudden and probably crazy, but I want to be wherever you and Emma are." "Are you asking to move in?" Harrison asked, his heart racing. "I am asking if you would consider looking for a new place together, something that is ours. Big enough for all of us, but not so big that it feels empty. A real home." Jasmine looked nervous but determined. "I know it is fast, but I am tired of wasting time. I love you and I love Emma, and I want to build a life with you both, if you will have me." Emma, who had been peeking around the corner, chose that moment to run up. "Does this mean you are moving in? Because I think you should take the guest room and we can decorate it together." Harrison laughed, tears pricking at his eyes. "I guess we are house hunting." They found a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a good neighborhood with great schools, halfway between Harrison's office and Jasmine's. It had a yard for Emma to play in and a garden that Jasmine immediately started planning to plant. Moving day was chaos, with Emma directing everyone like a tiny foreman while Harrison and his crew handled the heavy lifting. That first night in their new home, after Emma was asleep in her new room, Harrison and Jasmine sat on the floor of their bedroom surrounded by unpacked boxes. "Are you sure about this?" Harrison asked. "About all of it." "I have never been more sure of anything," Jasmine said. She took his hand and placed it over her heart. "Do you feel that? That is what happens when I am with you. My heart feels full for the first time in years. You and Emma, you are my family now. This is where I belong." Harrison kissed her gentle and sweet. "I love you so much." "I love you too," Jasmine said. "Now help me find the box with the sheets because I am not sleeping on a bare mattress tonight." They fell into their new life together with surprising ease. Jasmine cut back her hours at work, delegating more to her management team and learning to trust others with some of the responsibility she had been carrying alone. Harrison's business continued to grow, taking on more clients beyond Pierce Industries and earning a reputation as the most reliable HVAC company in the city. Emma thrived with both of them in her life. Jasmine helped her with science projects and took her to art classes on Saturdays. Harrison taught her how to fix things around the house and took her hiking on Sunday mornings. The three of them became a unit, a real family. One evening, about a year after they moved in together, Harrison was putting Emma to bed when she asked him something that made his breath catch. "Do you think Jasmine would want to adopt me?" Emma asked quietly. "Sophie got adopted by her stepdad last month, and now they have the same last name. I want to have the same last name as Jasmine, too." Harrison's eyes filled with tears. "I think she would be honored." "But you know that means she would officially be your mom, right? Not just Daddy's girlfriend." "I know," Emma said. "I want her to be my mom. I mean, I'll always remember my first mom, and I love her. But Jasmine takes care of me and loves me like a mom, so she should be my mom for real." Harrison kissed her forehead. "Let me talk to her, okay? But I think we can make that happen." That night, after Emma was asleep, Harrison found Jasmine in the kitchen making tea. He wrapped his arms around her from behind and pressed a kiss to her neck. "Emma asked me something tonight," he said softly. "What is that?" Jasmine asked, leaning back against him. "She wants to know if you would adopt her." Jasmine went very still, then turned in his arms with tears streaming down her face. "Really? She really asked that?" "She wants you to be her mom for real, same last name and everything." "Oh my God," Jasmine said, her voice breaking. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. I would be honored to be her mom." They stood there holding each other in the kitchen, both crying, both overwhelmed with the magnitude of what this meant. "There is something else," Harrison said after a moment. "I have been thinking about this for a while now, and Emma's question kind of sealed it for me." He pulled back and got down on one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Jasmine's hands flew to her mouth. "Jasmine Pierce, you came into my life on the worst day to have a broken heater and the best day for me. You have given me everything I never dared to hope for. You have given Emma a mother who loves her unconditionally. You have given me a partnership built on respect and trust and genuine affection. I love you more than I can put into words, and I want to spend the rest of my life showing you how much. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Jasmine sobbed. "Yes, yes, yes." Harrison slipped the ring onto her finger. It was not the biggest diamond in the world, but he had saved for months to buy it, wanting to give her something that came from his own efforts, not just use the money she had helped him make. When he stood up, Jasmine threw her arms around him and kissed him so hard they both stumbled backward. "I love you so much," she said between kisses. "I love you, I love Emma, I love our life together." "I love you too," Harrison said, "my future wife." They told Emma the next morning over breakfast. She jumped up and down so much that Harrison worried the neighbors below would complain. Then she insisted on calling Mrs. Patterson, Sophie, and her teacher to share the news. The wedding was 6 months later, a small ceremony in their backyard with close friends and family. Emma was the flower girl and the ring bearer, insisting she could do both jobs. Jasmine's sister and brother-in-law came with their 2 kids, and Harrison's parents flew in from Florida. Mrs. Patterson sat in the front row crying happy tears. When Harrison and Jasmine exchanged vows, they included Emma in the ceremony. Jasmine knelt down to Emma's level and made promises to love her, support her, and be the best mother she could be. Emma, who had been practicing for weeks, recited her own vow to be a good daughter and to always remember that love makes a family. There was not a dry eye in the backyard. The adoption went through 3 months after the wedding. The judge was a kind older woman who had clearly been moved by their story. When she signed the papers making Jasmine officially Emma's mother, Emma asked if she could say something. "I just want to thank Jasmine for choosing me," Emma said in her clear, confident voice. "Not everyone gets to choose their family, but we chose each other, and that makes it extra special." Harrison had to step out of the courtroom for a moment to compose himself. When he came back, Jasmine and Emma were hugging, both of them glowing with happiness. Life settled into a beautiful rhythm after that. Harrison's company continued to thrive, and eventually, he was able to hire a general manager to handle day-to-day operations, giving him more time with his family. Jasmine successfully balanced her work responsibilities with being present at home, making it to Emma's school events and family dinners. They talked about having more children. Harrison had always wanted a big family, and Jasmine admitted she had given up on the idea of having kids before meeting them. "I always thought I would have to choose between my career and family," she told Harrison one night. "But you have shown me I can have both. I want to have a baby with you." "I want Emma to be a big sister." They tried for several months before Jasmine got pregnant. When the test came back positive, they told Emma right away. "Am I going to have a brother or a sister?" Emma asked, excitement radiating from her. "We will not know for a few more months," Jasmine said. "What would you prefer?" "I do not care as long as they like animals and art," Emma said seriously. "And they have to be nice because I am going to teach them everything I know." The pregnancy was mostly smooth, though Jasmine had terrible morning sickness for the first trimester. Harrison doted on her, bringing her crackers in bed and rubbing her feet when they swelled. Emma was incredibly helpful, talking to Jasmine's growing belly and drawing pictures for the baby's nursery. They found out they were having a boy at the 20-week ultrasound. Emma was thrilled, already planning all the things she would teach her little brother. They decided to name him Henry, after Harrison's father. Henry Zimmerman was born on a sunny spring morning, weighing 7 pounds and 6 ounces with a full head of dark hair and his father's blue eyes. Emma was the first one to hold him after Harrison and Jasmine, cradling him carefully while telling him about all the adventures they would have together. "He is so small," Emma whispered in wonder. She was 10 now, having just finished 4th grade. "Was I ever this small?" "You were even smaller," Harrison said, putting an arm around his daughter while gazing at his son. "But you are still my baby girl." "Dad," Emma said with an eye roll, but she was smiling. Watching Jasmine with their newborn son, seeing the pure love on her face, Harrison was struck by how far they had come. 4 years ago, he had been a struggling single dad barely keeping his head above water, alone and exhausted. Now he had a thriving business, a beautiful home, a wife who was his partner in every sense of the word, and 2 incredible children. "What are you thinking about?" Jasmine asked, noticing his expression. "Just how lucky I am," Harrison said. "How lucky we all are." "The heater breaking was the best thing that ever happened to me," Jasmine said with a soft laugh. "You offered me everything that Christmas Eve," Harrison reminded her. "A job, a future, hope. But what I did not realize then was that you were offering me something even more valuable." "What is that?" "A family, a real home, love." Harrison leaned over to kiss his wife's forehead. "You offered me everything, and then you gave me even more than I could have imagined." Emma looked up from where she was still gazing at baby Henry. "This is really sappy, you guys." They all laughed, the sound filling the hospital room with joy. Harrison knew there would be challenges ahead. Sleepless nights with a newborn, juggling 2 kids' schedules, the regular ups and downs of life. But they would face it all together as a family. 2 years later, on a Christmas Eve much like the one where it all began, Harrison and Jasmine hosted a dinner party at their home. Mrs. Patterson was there, of course, along with Harrison's parents, Jasmine's sister and her family, and several of their friends. Emma, now 12 and increasingly independent, helped prepare the meal while Henry, a rambunctious 2-year-old, ran circles around everyone's legs. After dinner, while the kids were playing and the adults were relaxing with coffee and dessert, Harrison stood up and clinked his glass to get everyone's attention. "I just want to say something," he began, feeling slightly self-conscious but needing to express what was in his heart. 6 years ago, I got a call on Christmas Eve from a woman whose heater had broken. I almost did not take the job because I wanted to be home with Emma. But something made me go, and that decision changed my entire life. He looked at Jasmine, who was watching him with shining eyes. "Jasmine, you saw something in me that I did not see in myself. You took a chance on a struggling single dad with a beat-up van and gave me an opportunity to build something real. But more than that, you loved me and my daughter without reservation. You became the heart of our family." "Dad, you are getting sappy again," Emma called out, but she was smiling. "Let me finish," Harrison said with a laugh. "I guess what I am trying to say is that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best things. Sometimes a broken heater is not just a problem to fix, but an opportunity to find everything you did not know you needed. I am grateful every single day for that Christmas Eve, for the woman who opened her door to me, and for the family we have built together. "Here, here," Harrison's father called out, raising his glass. Everyone toasted, and Jasmine came over to stand beside Harrison, slipping her hand into his. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Harrison replied. "Merry Christmas." As the evening wore on, and their home filled with laughter and love, Harrison thought about how he had worried that he was not good enough for Jasmine, that their different backgrounds would be an insurmountable obstacle. But none of that had mattered. What mattered was respect, trust, genuine affection, and a willingness to build something together. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and the kids were asleep, Harrison and Jasmine stood in front of their Christmas tree. It was decorated with a mix of expensive ornaments Jasmine had inherited from her parents and handmade ones Emma had created over the years, a perfect representation of their blended life. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Harrison asked. "The simplicity of it, before you had a ready-made family to worry about?" Jasmine turned to him with a look of such pure love that it took his breath away. "Not for a single second. That life was empty, Harrison. This is what I was missing all along. This noise and chaos and love. This is everything." She kissed him, soft and sweet, and Harrison held her close, feeling more content than he ever thought possible. Outside, snow began to fall, just like it had that Christmas Eve 6 years ago. But this time, Harrison was not driving through a storm to fix a stranger's heater. He was home, warm and safe, surrounded by the family he never dared to dream he could have. As they stood there together, the lights from the Christmas tree casting a warm glow around them, Harrison silently thanked whatever force in the universe had brought Jasmine into his life. She had offered him everything that night, but what she had really given him was infinitely more valuable than money or opportunity. She had given him love, partnership, and a future brighter than he had ever imagined. And in return, he had given her something she thought she would never have: a real family, a true home, and the kind of love that changes everything. In the end, it was not about who had more money or who needed saving. It was about two lonely people finding each other at exactly the right moment and choosing to build something beautiful together. It was about a little girl gaining a mother who adored her and a baby boy born into a family full of love. It was about taking chances, being vulnerable, and believing that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. And it all started with a broken heater on Christmas Eve.